Welcome back to another episode of Who Should You Choose, the Wednesday, July 30th edition, episode 164, as we march closer to NHL 26. Let's get into the questions and comments. Some interesting ones here today. We'll start out with the most liked comment, and that is Jay Lane, fellow Sharks fan, it looks like. Tinfoil hat. NHL 26 reveal will coincide with the in-game season in NHL 25, and the cover athlete will be the final XP player to earn in the final season that ends with NHL 26 begins. Love that. Like, that is a great marketing plan here. When is the season end? I'll take a look. It's got to be pretty soon, right? They're running out of time here because usually, again, with an October release, they release things in August, they start sprinkling things out. But if the release is a month earlier, I said this in the last video, we're probably going to get something very, very soon. As I think I can pull up my PlayStation here So the XP path ends in 8 days, which would be, next Thursday? The 7th? That would line up. I'm not going to lie, that would line up. Usually they don't do marketing things on a Thursday, but that would be a really good idea. That wouldn't surprise me at all, and I think that if they don't do that, that's a pretty big miss because it lines up pretty well. Like I said, I think that we've got to get something next week, and if it's not next week, it's got to be the following one because they're just running out of runway, right? They have very limited time to reveal the cover athlete, hype the game, show the trailers, and all of that, and then get everything ready. So it's got to be pretty soon. So really like the idea. Jack says, NHL wish list, GM connected. Everyone's going to say GM connected until it comes in. I think that because the majority of the player base is older, we grew up with GM connected in kind of the prime NHL. I've said this a number of times. Here's my hope for GM connected. It'd be great to be back in the game. Would it be a big needle mover for the entire player base? No, it won't. It just simply won't. And I want to preface this by saying for everyone else that thinks that GM Connected is their number one thing, this is what I want you to just do a little checklist for you, okay? GM Connected, back when it first came out, was a busted mess. However, we're also 11 years younger. I want you to think if you've got 5 to 10 buddies that could regularly play GM Connected weekly, right? I don't. Like, in my personal life, no shot I'd be able to do that. And then you also have to be able to do it as well. Now, some people, obviously, you've got some more time on your hands, things like that. Absolutely, there's going to be people out there that can benefit from it. I'm not saying no one would. I'm saying that GM Connected, for it to come back, here's what I hope they do. The last couple years, or maybe even the next couple years, they slowly work on it. I don't want them to take an entire dev cycle, throw in GM Connected, and nothing else get improved. No World of Shell, no HUT, no nothing else that is a main. Those are the main drivers of the game. Franchise mode, be a pro. I'd rather see all of those things touch more before GM Connected. That being said, if GM Connected comes out, creators and people that have big communities, I'm going to do a unbelievable GM Connected league. I'll probably have 3 of them. I will run it on LG. League Gaming. I will have full stat tracking. I'll have 3 separate leagues where we'll play out a season, make trades, deals, and whatever. And if you win the cup, you can move up a division, something along those lines, so that you end up with 30 players that are very close, or 32, in very close in skill. I'm very excited for it. GM Connected, when it was last done, there was a stat that I saw that less than 5% of leagues made it past the first week. And I think it would be very similar. I think that there would be communities out there that would make that it would be the greatest thing ever. I just think that people are remembering nostalgia a little bit when it comes to GM Connected. Number 2, be a pro. Allow you to play multiple years in the minors again. Ability to be sent down to AHL, have an agent, do contract negotiations, team practice during XP, and decide where it goes. Solo skate for the first game, warm-ups, number changing, teammate and line chemistry. Way to see what's happening on your team and around the league with trade signings and other features. Be a pro, in my opinion. I mean, I know they work closely with Madden. I think just because of the proximity of the dev teams. I do know that they work pretty closely with Madden. I want to see, when it comes to single player stuff like Be a Pro, I want to see, even in franchise mode, I want to see the bring back the skill activities. So, like, I don't know what NHL was. 2K was really good for this, I think. But, like, let's say you've got to practice and you want to work on your shot accuracy. You got to go out there and you got to complete the drill to actually hit the 4 corners. things like that. Bring back mini games to upgrade your players, especially in Be a Pro, and it would go such a long way. There's so much fluff that is just like contract negotiations. Where is the fun in that? Because like the only way that you would get anything out of that is if, okay, you earn more money in your contract and whatnot, but it's like, what does that do? I know you can buy, like it says, like you buy certain things. Like I don't want to say give us a house or whatever, but it's got to give us something, right? Like there's got to be things like you can hire a personal trainer, improve your gym, things like that, and they do that now. But I just want to see it more in depth. Practicing should matter, right? I want them to remove things that if you just skipped, nothing happens. I played a lot of college football over the weekend to try it out, and I thought Road to Glory was pretty empty, and it just wasn't. They didn't do a lot to improve it. Bring back the skating in junior, like going to the CHL. Would love that. That is, but that's a bias because I'm a big OHL fan, obviously. So there are some things that I would love to see much more fleshed out for Be a Pro. Hut, he says, stop flooding the game with cards. Stop flooding the game with cards. FIFA, MLB, like pack animations, last price sold, and better auction house features. Bring back draft champs with better rewards. Something like the parallels from MLB The Show, where cards can upgrade capped at +5 overall, and maybe only for base cards, 85 overall lower. Custom jerseys, bring back online seasons and comp seasons. Shootout Battle Royale mode, like Battle Royale from MLB The Show. New reward and point system for rivals and squad battles. No rivals points for losses. Something. Okay, this is a ton. Okay, I'm just going to touch on a few here because that would be the entire video. The auction house as a whole needs to be torn down and rebuilt. I'm completely with you on that. Bring back draft champs. They did with Wildcard. I think what you're looking for is the guaranteed reward. I think that, again, in my perfect world for Wildcard, every week we get a new Wildcard, or every 2 weeks. No, every week. And you get to use the best cards. Okay, so from the current event. And then you also get to pick from a hologram. So, like, one of the slots should be a random hologram. One of the slots should be a random X Factor, a random team builder. The rest is filled with master set player items and event items that are current, so the teams are good and you get to try out new cards. Not just the master sets, but like the other cards, right? I don't even like the fact that you can bring any of your cards. I would say, honestly, if I was doing it over, I would just get rid of the wild card thing of bringing your own card. Just let us completely try our own thing. That stops the beginning of the year where everyone just brings McDavid or whoever they have that's the highest. I think that there needs to be a guaranteed reward. I think you need to reward people for actually winning online multiple times. Now, when it comes to offline players, I think the same thing can be said, right? It just takes a little bit longer, which like what they did when they readjusted when the path came out. The XP patch being just collectibles, boring and lazy. I know that they had people that sit there and their sole responsibility is to come up with these reward paths and things like that. Knock it off. Like let's add in some like some real stuff. Okay, so if you've got a season or let's say an event is every 2 weeks, I want event cards in there. I want the end instead of it being collectibles to make it. I don't want to say a full master set item. If you can get to a certain level of wild card, you should be able to get a master set player item. Make it untradeable or account bound. I don't care if EA has to justify it like that. But that's how you really get wild card to boom again, in my opinion. Vanity items too, like, you know, give us some stuff for doing well. The other thing that I wanted to touch on, the parallel system MLB Show. I talked about this an absolute ton. I've said that every Ultimate Team should have this in game for the remainder or for every single franchise, like Madden, FIFA, all of it. ESHL, go full custom builds, gain XP to spend. Each build is capped at a certain overall, but XP can go to whatever you want. Speed would need to be capped, and player types would need slightly different caps. Snipers can't have crazy high defensive awareness. I actually love this. I played a lot of ESHL competitively in like NHL 18, 19, and 20. I played a ton of it before I started to get into Hut. And I loved back in the day where it was like an RPG game. Like, you got XP. The problem is the grinders just like if you started late or you don't play that often and your players just get absolutely smoked because you simply can't compete. That's what's tough, and I think that's what they're protecting, right? They're protecting the casual players there, and they drive the game. I think there should be a competitive maybe mode in ESHL where there's full builds. I completely agree with that. Franchise three-way trades, AI counter trade offers, LTIR, PTOs, conditional picks, contract termination, GM of the Year award, new free agency mini game similar to the trade deadline one. Oh, dude, bring back the Blackberries? Or are you talking about the one we have now? Banner raising and jersey retirement. I think the presentation of franchise just needs an overhaul too. Like, there needs to be more like in-game stuff that pops up, things like that for sure. You went on and just did a million things here, man. And I went through this before the video, and I actually really enjoy almost all of your stuff. I didn't want to point out the whole thing because again, that'd be the entire video. But new crowd, it's looked the same for a decade. Guys, you want to know something crazy? I know there's some. I don't know if there's any Star Wars fans in the chat here, but there is a model that is in the crowd that I swear is in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. And if memory serves, it was published by Electronic Arts. And I swear to God, that game came out in like 2004 or whatever. There is a model of character selection that you can pick that I've seen in the crowd for the last 20 years in NHL. I'm with you on the crowd is like the exact same. And I might be wrong, but it's very similar and it always makes me laugh. Hey slaves, I love your content and appreciate the time and effort you put in. With all the talk about the change for 26, what did the EA do right in NHL 25 and what would you like to see them carry over to 26? Oh man, we love to just hate. Okay, off the top of my head. Okay, things I like, but there's context to them. One-timers going in again. I think that was fresh. I think that it was completely different gameplay than we've had, and it's something that was not in the game. Like, guys, no revisionist history here. If you go back to NHL 22, 23, and 24, okay, you could not score a one-timer. Every once in a while. That blanket statement is wrong to say. I'm talking less than 5% of one-timers went in. It was obnoxious. And I mean 23 and 24, not 22. Like a mess. And the reason why it was so frustrating is because that is one of the most common hockey plays. It is what teams cycle for to get an open one-timer to look. I like that one-timer's going again. I do not like the unscreened, the fact that your defensemen lead your team in scoring. That needs to be addressed 100%. And I don't think that the green one-timer thing needs to be there. I don't. I think that that's kind of silly. I personally really dislike the arcade pathway they've chosen. I've hated the total control scheme. There was really no need for it. I've hated the full pressure system, not because I don't like the result or the thought of it. I just don't like stuff popping up on the screen when I'm playing a game. I think it's silly. I think it should just happen slowly and organically if you're hemming someone in. I don't want it to sound like, my 77 overall silver defenseman is shooting a puck out of a cannon because he greened up a one-timer. It's a lot of arcade for me. The reverse hits I hate. Okay, but I like that DDD one-timers, or not DDD. Well, DDD I guess included, but one-timers going. I do enjoy that. Unscreened, they need to be fixed. Needs to be fixed. The other things I liked about 25, fantasy cards. Loved fantasy items. I think that they have pretty much made them as perfect as possible without improving them anymore. Like, if they took an idea from the old content team and they made it as best as they possibly could, but they need to improve and break free of the chains that the old content team put on fantasy items. So, what I'd like to see, fantasy is not just goal scoring. It is everything. Block shots, hits, all of that. There needs to be fantasy items that take into account other stats than just goals. And I'm not talking multiple for one card. I'm talking you release a Kiefer Sherwood fantasy item. Every 40 hits, he goes up because he gets 10 a game. Do the math. Look at his average hits of the last few years at 99. What would he get to at 99 on the last game of the season? Do the math there. They do that already, by the way. That's how they determine overalls. They do like an equation, one of the old content team did, to try and get 99s near the end of the year. Obviously, there's always some outliers, which is what makes the event best, but they need other stats. Don't just make it goals. Like make a Marner fantasy item for assists. That is, again, because you get 100 assists in a season, 2 for every 2 that they go up +1. I liked some of the events being absolutely insane. So Gallery of Greats was the first one where they came out of nowhere, made all the MSPs have free zone abilities. That really changed the game. Now, I it also ruined Power Up Icons, but Power Up Icons were already ruined at the beginning of the year. I love that. I loved the Warp Speed event. Um, I think that it was probably released at the perfect time. I say that they need to plan better, but 99 speed is tough because you can't do it too early, and if you do it too late, it doesn't matter. Where they did it was every other stat was low enough. They need to lower the shooting stats on these things. If they're gonna do warp speed again, the shot totals need to be in the like I don't want to say 80s, but low 90s. Like there needs to be nothing else they do well other than skate. That's it. Um, but I like the warp speed event because I think this is what I enjoy. When there is an event and I'm doing a ranking, or people are asking me what card to choose, and the answer isn't one or two cards. Like the Gallery of Greats event was so awesome. Again, like in context, just if you separate all other events and everything else and don't take into room power up icons and everyone had Gallery of Greats cards. I'm talking about like you did an event and the cards had free zone abilities and you could make whoever you wanted. You when you have to decide who you're gonna take, like that's awesome to me. It's one of the best events. Like I think that when people were like, who do I choose, Messi or Iserman? It was Iserman, but there was a debate, right? Do you go with Brett Hull who had 90, like basically 99 shooting and all of the free shooting abilities? I remember playing with his card for like 3 or 4 weeks. His card was so good at shooting, but his skating was abysmal. But every time you flicked up, it kind of went in. And but it was an advantage you had to like think about because on the other side you could have gone with Joe Sakic who had like insane face-offs, an unbelievable skater, and all in all attributes wise was a better card. But like Brett Hull did something that was so specific and better than everyone else. I loved that event. It was unbelievable, and I think that again with better planning, they can do more of those. The problem with that structure though is when they come firing with all these crazy events, it really limits some of the ones that don't have anything special about it. The NHL 2000s event had such a great mechanic. It was just put in the worst spot it possibly could have. But like Superstar, things like that, they don't offer anything other than just like, oh, here's cards with crazy art, right? Like, I think that they did well with some of those events. Outside of that, I like the XP path. It needs to get better. Um, like I like wild card. It needs to just improve. They did a lot of things where they put things into the community. I'll give a perfect example. A lot of people, myself included, I would like to be able to score one timers again. They hear that and they're like, "Oh, you want to pull out a rocket and blast one like it's like some Super Mario game? That's what we're gonna put in." It's like it's not what we asked for. We wanted draft champs or BR. They put wild card in. It's like you're like they're like technically doing it, but they're like going way. You know what I mean? It's so extreme. So I don't know. There's some things I do enjoy, but there needs to be improvement. Fantasy cards the only thing I think that they just drilled, like the World Juniors, the playoff event. I think they did that so much better than the prior content team. Outside of that, in terms of HUT and gameplay, it was different. Like I said, being able to score one timers made things different, but it made it all that you were doing, especially early on in the year. So I don't know. I don't know. Like that's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comment section, guys. Funny enough, the menus were super quick for half a day around Christmas following an update. There must have been an issue cleared cache or something in the server because it went right back to crap. There is, I'm sure, something. Like, again, guys, if you think about it, again, I'm not a coder, and I talk about this all the time. I talk about spaghetti code because that's what the devs have said for a long time, where it's just years and years of piling code on top, and if they go to fix one thing, it breaks two, and then they have to utilize dev time, and that's been their major issue. But if you go back and look, like, menus are the same since, like, NHL 18. Like, it's insane. Insane. We're going on, like, 7 years of the exact same... The game, like, if you fired it up, and we're just like, okay, and you have no idea about gameplay or anything like that, it looks so similar. And when you think about it, it's like, dude, if that menu structure was in the game in NHL 17, right? It's like, how much better could it be, on the new gen consoles? Like, if they're just piling on, right? I would love snappy menu system. I get frustrated now playing. I'm really into MLB, trying to make my World Series push to get to Division One MLB. And I'm very frustrated when I go back to NHL and I got to sit there and there's like a 3 second thing when I go to my team. Like it's just obnoxious. Raquel from the Penguins had 35 goals this year and 30. Really? Oh my God, dude. 70 points for Rickard Raquel in 2025? Not bad. His best card is an 88 from Four Nations. Get Pen EA. This is a major issue, right? Like when they release less content, they like obviously there's less cards that can be I think they need to put something in place like they did years ago. Like NHL 20, I think was the last year where prime times where cards only got a prime time if they scored a hat trick or like 4 points or something like, but it was like, if you did that, you got this. And they went away from that entirely because they didn't like to be so predictive. It's very hard in the current structure they have without a base card system that upgrades based on their overalls and rankings. I just think that the play is, again, they don't have there's 700 or 800 players in the NHL, right? They don't have the staff required to go in every event and upgrade base cards based on how they're performing in real life, like MLB does. They have a gigantic team that does this. Yes, they like their base cards in MLB literally go up and down in rating based on how they do in real life for the entire year. And what's crazy is they get super big bonuses or decreases in attributes based on who they're playing that day, like that pitcher. Like if a hitter does really poorly against a pitcher normally or a right-hander, whatever, their inside edge will drop and you'll drop like 17 power against lefties and stuff. Like it's wildly in-depth. However, AI is a thing now. Like this is something that AI should be able to handle. Like again, it would take a long time to flush out, but based on just performance, we're not talking about someone's top speed. You could include speed and other things that the inside edge track or the edge tracks from like the Amazon edge tracks. But like if someone's popping off and scoring a ton of goals, raise their shooting attributes, right? Like it's not that, and if they do it for a substantial amount of time, like they keep going up and up and overall, like that's how it should be. If someone's having like Austin Matthews probably goes down this year because he just hasn't had a good year, right? That's something that is sorely needed for sure. I think that would be a big one. And the last one I was talking was Hellpat. We're talking a lot about rivals and getting your wins. Imagine you can only win 5 games every day for rewards 30 a week. You introduce this streak, 2 consecutive win equals 3 wins, 3 equals 5 wins. If you are better, you get rewards faster. You play more games, but it only goes the XP path. Streak rewards and rivals is how you alleviate a lot of things. Yes. That is how you do it. But it has to be against it doesn't protect people from going to Division 2. But that is how a good way to do it. I think that's a big way to do it. So that's another good idea for rivals. Thank you guys again for watching. I'll see you guys tonight for the content drop on Wednesday. And everyone have a good one.